Hi everyone, we're LANY and we're gonna be talking about our firsts.
First time you all met each other.
I met Jake at the YMCA in Green Hills, Nashville, Tennessee. Jake was living in a house with Les, and I think the first time I came over, I met you at the house.
Jake played drums for a couple brothers that were in a band, and I lived with those brothers. Jake would come over and crash on the futon.
So we would hang out quite a bit. Never talked about being in a band together. I moved to LA. Somewhere in that process, these two started making music as a band called Worlds without the O. And they were kind of getting some cool steam online with some blogs. And I was getting no steam. And I was in LA and I called Jake. I was like, whatever you're doing is obviously working. Can I come to Nashville and just write a few songs with you guys and see what happens? I flew to Nashville March of 2014. We had 4 days together, wrote and recorded our first 2 songs.
Had our first band fight.
Yeah, had it within the first day.
There you go.
No, we wrote one song called Hot Lights, we all loved it. Then I started writing this one called Walk Away, and Les was like, I can't do this.
I was like, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, and then Jake came home because he was like in the studio working on another project. And then he's like, well, let me just lay some drums over top, and then I think it all came together.
It made so much sense.
Yeah. Anyways, we put our first 2 songs on the internet April 22nd, 2014, and now we're here at BuzzFeed 5 years later.
First LANY show.
Ooh.
Our very first was
Down in San Diego. But it was a
Diego.
It was like a secret show. We didn't even put our name on the bill. We wanted to go by Outback Steakhouse.
Just something so silly.
Because we'd never played a show, and we wanted to have 3 practice shows before our first show at the Sayers Club, which was like the first week of February in 2015. But we went down to San Diego. Name wasn't even on the bill, and fans showed up. And we were like, oh no. We had 5 songs, so the show was about 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
I used to have the shakes so bad, like my knees just like, you know, so nervous. But that was a really, really cool show where we started with Hot Lights and I sang the first verse in the wrong key because I was so nervous. And but we ended great.
first kiss. Ashley Payne, our 4th grade. What's up? Just kiss because we got 100 on a quiz. Maybe?
Yeah.
I think I was 8th or 9th grade. I kissed a sweet girl named Tina Mooneyham.
My junior prom, this girl named Lauren Morris, I had known her since 2nd grade. This is a pretty good story if we got time. Freshman year of high school, and there's this big hill where I'm from in Tulsa, and my buddy took me there, and I was like, I'm gonna bring Lauren here one of these days, and I'm gonna kiss her, and she's gonna be the first girl I ever kiss. Fast forward 2 years later, took her to prom, then I was like, hey, I wanna take you somewhere. Put on a blindfold, curated a playlist, drove her to this hill, carried her to this spot. I was like, 2 years ago, Lauren Morris, I said I was gonna bring you here and kiss you, and then bam, kissed her. First song you wrote, this comes back to Lauren Morris every time. It was literally to ask Lauren to prom. That was my first song I ever wrote.
The first song I wrote was a song that I actually wrote with my dad.
Oh.
My dad wrote some lyrics about his dad, actually, about growing up,
So when I was younger, I went to a camp in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and we all got to make CDs. And my CD was called Goose's Hip Hop, and I had a song called Cookie Dough because I was huge and I loved eating sweets. First time someone recognized you in public.
This is just now starting to happen, by the way. Well, we went to London, and I don't think we'd even played a show. We just were like there to take some meetings or something like that. It was just the 3 of us and our manager. And within like 15 minutes of walking down the street, these 2 girls ran up to us and were like, oh my God, are you? And that was really early. First time you heard one of your songs in public. I think, well, the first time we heard one of our songs on the radio, which has only happened like 10 times ever. We were in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was a really cool moment.
That was awesome.
It sounds different on the radio, you know?
does.
There's something about it that's like a...
I don't know the science, but it's definitely like they like squash the audio in some way to send it further, and it's got a quality to it.
Yeah, but it was a really cool moment.
First album you ever bought? A Boston CD? Classic rock.
Mine was Room for Squares, John Mayer.
I think mine was Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
First song you wrote as a group, Hot Lights. I don't know, I was like obsessed with Nothing Was the Same by Drake. So Les and I sat there and he has this, what do you call it, a Korg?
Korg Tribe.
Yeah, it was a bunch of like samples and we just started kind of building drum sounds inspired by that.
First celebrity crush.
Brad Pitt.
I was about to say, I don't know if it's Brad or...
I don't know if it's Brad or Leo.
Brad or Leo? Jessica Alba.
Nice. Probably the Olsen twins.
I'm just gonna go Brad Pitt. First crazy fan interaction.
I signed a girl's forehead one time in
yeah.
Milwaukee, which is just like, I was like, do you really want me to do this? She's like, please sign my forehead. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
I think that's definitely the craziest.
It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty weird.
There was a bunch of fans at the airport waiting for us and a kid gave me a potato. And so it's just like, cool man, thank you so much for this potato. First musical inspiration.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it would have to be like John Mayer for me.
I'd say the Chili Peppers.
We played 7 arenas with John Mayer in 2017. I got this tattoo for the 7 shows we played with him.
Same.
Yeah. Now we text sometimes.
So great.
I miss you, love you.
And then Chili Peppers, the drummer Chad Smith was at Amoeba Music one time, and Les was there when we all lived together, and he sent me a text. I forget where I was, but he's like, hey, Chad Smith's at Amoeba Music right now, you should come. And I got on my bike, and I sprinted to Amoeba Music, and I went in, and he was looking at like a John Coltrane record, so I thought that was amazing, and I just like tapped him, and I was like, I just want to say you're like my biggest inspiration behind the kit. And he's like, oh, thanks so much, man.
That's
and he touched my shoulder.
Hasn't taken a
haven't
shower
showered
since.